we're getting people on the right track, and not through plants. It's therapeutic cooking with animals. Let me make that very clear. And why should you listen to me? Well, I've been through a whole huge healing process. As you can see, I was 250 pounds at my fattest, and known for healthy cuisine all through Southern California. And, we talk about what's the correct diet for health. And for 50 years, we've been talking vegan. And you look at the beaches back in the day, and people looked, well, frankly, like I do right now. But for the last 60 years, what have we been doing? Eating plants. So we've got to change what we're doing and go back to an ancestral ruminant way. The ruminant animal becomes the bioprocessor for us. They process the plants so we don't have to. The lectins and things in plants, and also now what we spray on them and everything, very hard on our system to digest. So we allow the animals to do that for us. Especially good in a ruminant animal, but pigs and chickens and other things are okay too. Much better than a plant source of nutrients. And then we want to take just a little bit of an accent, minimalist approach with a little bit of dairy or fermented vegetable, and just make that protein just tasty enough. Minimalist approach. And you see that I have the pyramids upside down because everything's changed, and now I want to talk about the future chef being somewhat of a general practitioner. Those pyramids got put upside down. We now know we should be back to eating meat. It was on the least we should be eating. Now it's on the most we should be eating. And we have to create menus around those proteins and just accent them enough with other things so that each dish maybe only has, say, 10 carbs on it. And so diners throughout the day, aren't going to end up with more than, 40, 50 carbs, hopefully, because we now know that is the right way for humans to eat. And we as chefs need to create menus and things that are easily discernible in the foods, like the macros, how much protein and how much this, and so that people can make a well-informed decision. It's just the way things are going to be going. People are going to have to know how to mitigate the problems with lectins and these plant proteins, which is what lectins are. A chef can't put his head in the sand anymore. We've known for centuries about, food being medicine back in Hippocrates' days. Well, we've got to mitigate the lectins and the oxalates. So, if you're going to use kale, blanch it, spinach, blanch it, serve it with, like a cream spinach, that's why they, there's the reason why they do stuff like that. You put it with a calcium source, and then it flushes out and you don't get stones. So we as chefs need to know those nuances of foods, how to prepare them and get them, out of the foods and in the intake of the diet, as much as possible when serving them, and keep them to a minimum. Respect the fact that, ruminant and meat and animal products of any kind really are going to be a far superior source with less problems to the human body to take them in. And oils are one of the hugest things that we've had it all wrong. All those vegetable oils are we know, or they call them seed oils. No, grains of any kind, but wheat being the biggest known one. Everyone knows gluten, but all grains have some form of a lectin in them. There's a couple, and they're on the approved list, like, oh gosh, what is it? One, sorghum, and there's one other. But all of them, they have a protein, and the one that in wheat, agglutinates the blood. That's where the name glue comes from. It's Latin. It's the derivative. So they knew back then, even, that these things agglutinate your blood and make it sticky and make clots. And here's the thing, not to go too far off the subject, but the thing is, we now know it's not animal fat and cholesterol and all this stuff that's making heart disease. And the problems that we should be looking out for. Yes, we don't want to eat sugar. That's a whole nother subject, but we don't want to eat sugar, which is the grains that going to create the heart disease. But that's a huge, long, conversation. But the animal fats have been demonized for so long, and it's actually the grains and the sugar that is giving the problem to make the atherosclerosis. And I actually had a CAC score, and when I went fully carnivore, my score went down. My plaque was going away instead of getting worse, as it should have. So I have my own clinical trial. It worked. And that's with eating no sugar sources, which grains are. And I was talking a little bit about how they agglutinate the blood. Sidebar on that is, you want to take nattokinase to help break down fibrinogen in your blood. All right. And when we're talking about creating therapeutic cuisine, you need to look at your dishes and decide, does a certain ingredient need to be there? And if it doesn't, then we swap it out with something that's therapeutic, and change the dynamic of the dish so that it still tastes and looks like that, but now it's not giving the body breakdowns. All right. And so you do that all the way through the menu. For you at home, you do it in your home. You search for the perfect coconut cake that you like. If that's one of your favorites, and there's people who have figured it out, and it's not easy. There's a certain amount of this kind of coconut flour mixed with a little bit of, sometimes psyllium husk, and, maybe whatever, coconut, and some almond flour. But all these things have downsides. Too much almond, what does that have? Strychnine and stuff in it, a lot of lectins if it's got the outer shell on it. But that's what is important right now, is to re-engineer those dishes, remove the bad, put in the good, and even a little something extra. In my ice cream, I put a little hyaluronic acid. And then in my coffee and other things, I'll put collagen powder. And then that mixture of collagen and hyaluronic acid is a great builder for cartilage. That's some of the greatest. I was in line for a knee surgery. I did do some stem cells, but after that kind of did 90% of the work. Now for the last 5 years, I've been on hyaluronic acid and collagen, and I've rebuilt my knees almost like perfect. Yeah, unless I eat peanuts, then it blows up. So your sweets, you want to transform your sweets, make them into a nutritious powerhouse, putting good things into them. The other dishes, you want to remove oxalates and lectins and things. Rework your whole menus, get the bad out, get the good in.